And welcome to Baseball Beer and Barbecue with Ted, Todd, and Lee. Like us on Facebook, follow us on the Twitter at Baseball Beer BBQ, and read us on our blog site, baseballbeerbbq.com. And get even more info at thehappyhournetwork.com. We will be talking in just a little bit with Dave Nichols of SB Nation's Washington National site, Federal Baseball, so we'll definitely enjoy that conversation, and hopefully you will as well. I am Lee. Ted is also on the line, as well as Todd. So, Ted, who else do we have to thank, or who do we have to thank this morning, live, Saturday, 10:01 a.m. Eastern Time?
Beautiful.
Hold on.
Huh?
You sound a little weird. You sound like you're in a distant galaxy. Not sure if your mic's on or if you're not close to your mic, but let me run.
Away?
Yeah, a little bit. You sound a little bit far away. I am going to run over to my couch because Mr. Tunsil is over there with his mask and his bong, so I will be right back myself.
Oh, my goodness. Todd, can you hear me?
You do sound like you're distant.
Yes. It does sound distant.
Are we on the air?
We are. Two of us are.
All right. Well, I'm going to give this brief thank you to all of our media partners, and then I will go dark for a second and then come back online.
It just sounds like
we want to thank our good friends
instead of through a microphone.
Oh, so maybe that's what it is. Okay. Want to thank our friends at NGSC Sports, I-95 Sports, Back Sports Page, RF Sports, XRP Radio in the UK, Arena Sports Network, and, of course, iHeartRadio. And I think Todd would like to thank someone, and I'll be right back.
I would like to thank the person that Ted needs to reach out to now. Ted is having microphone issues, apparently. And do you know who? The only people in the universe who could possibly solve this? Ted's going to call them right away. It's Computer Repair NC at CAJ Computers NC on the Twitter, 919-653-8496. He will have to drive to Raleigh or ship it to Raleigh. They will fix it, or they won't.
That's true. That's an excellent, really segue. So, or they won't. Although I still have my own feeling that even though the business does exist, that really it's Ted, because he can't hear us. He's dropped off. Ted is really running their Twitter site. That's my feeling. But of course, Dee Gordon has been suspended by Major League Baseball for 80 games for testing positive for exogenous testosterone and clostebol. Is that how you say that? Clostebol?
Sure.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who doesn't really know. Performance-enhancing substances. He answered the same way everybody does when they are found positive for PEDs, like Sharapova and everybody else. Though I did not do so knowingly. Wow, easy for me to say. I have been informed that test results showed I ingested something that contained prohibited substances, Gordon said in a statement written by his agent, released probably. I made that last part up. Released Friday by the Players Union. The hardest part about this is feeling that I have let down my teammates, the organization, and the fans. I have been careful to avoid products, except for this one, that could contain something. I added that part too. That could contain something banned by MLB, and the 20-plus tests that I have taken and passed throughout my career prove this. I made a mistake, and I accepted the consequences. Well, he has to, because he doesn't have any way of not accepting the consequences. It's funny because he Barry Bonds, unfortunately, did he take PEDs? Yes, most likely. But Dee Gordon now plays for the Marlins, and of course Barry Bonds is the hitting coach, so it's just hopefully coincidental. I really hope. But it is interesting that Gordon played for Don Mattingly in Los Angeles. And Mattingly's comments were, Dee is always a guy we felt could play, but at the point he was 145 pounds soaking wet, Mattingly said during this spring training. Now he has turned into a man. He has put some physical strength on him, and he's a different player. It's interesting that he went from 145 and then seemed to gain some strength. I wonder how that could be. Todd, any ideas? Any ideas at all, Todd?
He probably went to one. I will say Dee Gordon. I think Dee Gordon pooped the crib. He didn't do it because he's a little guy. He added some strength, so he's probably all of 155. Yeah, it is really, it's unfortunate. And we were talking in pre-pro how we were going to Colabello up in Toronto, how he had got a suspension the week before, but nobody really cared because he wasn't doing anything. Although he did the same thing, the same way as Gordon had. He learned actually in March that he'd failed the test, but they appealed, so nothing came out until just recently. Same thing with Gordon. Turns out Colabello, during the interim, when apparently he decided, I better not take the steroids anymore, he had 069. 069, which is why we forgot to mention it, because he was hitting poorly. Last year he had 321. But back to Dee Gordon. And, this is a good example of, obviously, anybody can be taking steroids. You don't have to be muscle monsters. But, the guy, he's the first guy since Jackie Robinson to lead the National League in hitting and stolen bases 2 years in a row. And unfortunately, it looks like now we know why he managed to do that after a career of hitting around 280. And he was an excellent player before this. But obviously he's a better player if he's leading the league in hitting. Here we are again. To the never-ending saga of what the designers can design and how long it takes. Little trick. And I really that Mr. do with this. I would hope he'd be smart enough to not have any of it, because he didn't get away. Basically, he was blackballed. Baseball, deserved, because when
let me stop you.
Prove it.
Let me stop you for just 1 second.
Please stop me.
You are fading in and out. This is great live radio, isn't it? Blog Talk Radio. So the last little bit I didn't catch. I'll say this on my end. It feels like, and hopefully I sound okay, because I sound okay to myself, but I'm live so hopefully to you I sound okay. But I think the most disappointing thing to me is that this isn't some guy, Dee Gordon, who's a second baseman, real small guy. This is a guy whose father played in Major League Baseball. So, I would assume that his father would say, hey, you know what, you probably, before you join the major leagues, let me tell you what you should not do. You should not take PEDs. You should not do this. So I think because of the lineage, it's disappointing to me. I don't know if that has any bearing on what you guys. Ted is back now, and Ted, we're talking about Dee Gordon and his suspension from baseball, and we just mentioned how Don Mattingly made the comment in spring training that he went from 145 to putting some physical strength on him, and of course Dee Gordon states that he did not take the drugs knowingly, but my point was, part of the thing that upsets me the most is the fact that his father was in Major League Baseball, and this is a kid who has the lineage, and yet he still chose to, even though he says he didn't mean to, he still chose to take PEDs. What are your thoughts?
Before I even start talking, do I sound any better or just the same?
You sound fine. I mean, you still sound a little bit distant, but I can understand what you're saying as opposed to when Todd speaks.
Right. Where is CJ Computers when I need him? Oh, my God. All right. Sorry about this, guys.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Do you know a contact at CJ Computers? I mean, do you know a name of a person?
Yes.
What's his name?
I know their lead tech, Christopher.
And I'm asking for a reason, because if you think Christopher, and this is kind of an ad for CJ Computers, but if I ever, I live in Tennessee, but could I call Christopher up and say, hey, Christopher, I have a question, a tech question, and we mentioned you on the baseball show. My computer's doing this. Do you think he'd be willing to answer the question over the phone?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. That's cool. That's awesome, actually.
What is it, $45 an hour?
Yeah, for the low $59.95.
First consultation here.
Oh man, guys, sorry about the audio on this one. I'm kind of stumped a little bit, but Lee, I think you're totally correct. I think the word that was used was betrayal. We all go back to these players are pushed. these players are, you hate to say they want to take the shortcut, but they want to take the shortcut. They want that next big contract. The numbers he put up last year, I believe winning the batting title and 55 plus stolen bases and 333 average, and then he signs a 5-year, $50 million deal right after this, this past January. So they're pressed, and in no way, shape, or form am I for this, but I'm saying these players are pressed to produce each and every night. Now granted, Marlins is different than if you're playing on Dodgers or Nationals or something like that.
Or Mets.
Or Tigers. Well, not in the last couple of years.
Well, I don't know about the Tigers.
But it's really sad that they feel that that's the route they have to go. And then they come up with these cockamamie excuses of, I checked what's put into my body and I was doing this and I didn't knowingly do this. And then, but you always run into a manager or whomever says, he's put on a lot of, muscle mass over the last, since off season. That's code for saying, hey, something's not right here. There's something amiss. But it's a disappointment that someone of his stature, it's not like he's the big muscle guy, like like a Pujols. I mean, and when I say this, I'm not saying Pujols takes anything, but it's different if he was like the size of Pujols. But here's a guy. Say it again.
Or like his coach Barry Bonds, a big muscle guy.
Right. And do we start connecting the dots and say, hey, this guy, Barry Bonds showed up, and because the naysayers will start. So
right.
I don't know. That's my rant.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense. The other thing is, it's almost, this is the kind of guy maybe we should be looking at more for PEDs, not because he's. Oh, and for those just tuning in, just to catch you up on what's happened on the show so far, we've had audio issues, and Ted has accused Pujols of taking PEDs. But anyway, I mean, this may be the kind of guy that we're kind of looking at, because it's not the home run hitters maybe anymore. It's the guy because Dee Gordon was struggling. I mean, he wasn't playing every day. And then at the last year of with the Dodgers, he kind of started playing every day because other people, they didn't have anybody else. And now, as Todd pointed out, and you pointed out, Ted, that he led the league in batting average the last 2 years and stolen bases the last 2 years. First guy since Jackie Robinson to do that. I mean, maybe this is the kind of guy we need to be looking at more, thinking, well, that guy may get on PEDs because he's struggling to get a job, not hit home runs, but just struggling to get a job. Is that any validity to that point at all?
Yeah, let's call it valid, like we talked about, sure.
Totally. I agree with you. I mean, everyone is up. Believe it or not, we need to be looking at everyone.
Yeah,
period.
I agree.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So let's move on. We don't want to make this the Dee Gordon show. The Cubs, as I mentioned in the outline for you guys, the Cubs are plus 79, and we talked about this last week as well, but plus 79 for the season, run differential. Only 6 teams had a run differential of that or higher for the entire season of 2015. Now, obviously, the Cubs aren't going to continue to win. They could continue to win at this pace. Who knows? Maybe they are the best team ever, but because they haven't even started to hit, as we touched on last week. But the thing is, they're still going to win the majority of their games, so their run differential, even though it's plus 79, it's still going to continue to go up unless they, for some reason, just start losing a bunch of games. But how incredible is this run? I mean, and look at the Mets are plus 40. I mean, the Mets are obviously the hottest team in baseball, and I think that plus 40 is just from Cespedes' hits alone last night. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? It's plus 79 for the season so far. The Pirates are 14-9, and they're plus 15 in second place. More Cub talks. Cubs the best team ever? Let's just go ahead and say it, right? Until we're proven wrong, Cubs are the best team ever, right?
Best ever.
Absolutely. Best ever, no doubt. The run differential is insane, absolutely insane to be winning by that much. And a lot of times teams will look back on the season and they'll think, oh, I wish we'd saved a couple runs from that 15-1 blowout that we didn't need, or that 16-0 no-hitter that, but it's kind of amazing because there's no reason for them to drop off. I mean, from the run differential, of course, but there's really no reason to think they're not going to continue to be an excellent team. So, yeah, their run differential is going to stay way up there. Obviously, they got a huge start.
Yeah, that plus 16 at the game they won 16-0. If you take that away, they're still 19 runs better than any other team.
Right. It's pretty incredible. It's just part of the weirdness that's the Cubs in a good way, and baseball in general. I mean, there have been, what was the triple play? I can't remember what the numbers were, but it was some ridiculous combination, and it was the first time that particular sequence had ever been done for a triple play in baseball. Only been around for, what are we at, 150 years? Crazy. Absolutely
baseball.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Your
thoughts, Ted? Yeah, it is. Your thoughts, Ted?
My thoughts are, I just love this sport, and I wish we could do something in regards to maybe pushing this back, truncating the season. I mean, this is totally off topic. The fact of the matter is, the first month of the season, we're basically at the end of it. I wish we could do something as per pushing it back to maybe the start of May, or we figure out NHL, NBA playoffs, because it kind of hurts me when I look around the league and I see some of these empty stadiums, and I know it's because of the weather and everything else like that, but it just really, really gets to me based on things like that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And when we talked to Dave Nichols, one of the questions, because it's a recorded interview, no surprise. If you're listening to the show, probably it's recorded. But one of the questions we had for Dave Nichols, who covers the Nationals for Federal Baseball, was how much does the NFL draft take away from baseball that first month of the season? Because all you have is the NFL season ends, and then you have 4 months of NFL draft talk. Oh, baseball season starts. Now we can actually start baseball season in May because the NFL draft is over. I mean, how much do you think that takes away from baseball?
Oh, totally. I mean, it's kind of like, and here's my tie-in for any given Monday night Cinema Savants. We had too much stimulation going on right now in the sports world, with playoffs, with the machine that's called the NFL that just doesn't stop. That people themselves don't get a chance, or it's not even on, when you go through any of the highlight shows, it's not number one. So, I mean, it's hurting us. It's really hurting us, and it's not like, there's anything we can do on this specific show except talk about it. But it's we got to. I mean, something needs to be figured out.
Right. Yeah, and that's an excellent point. So, let's get to our and hopefully you guys are prepared for this, because I put it in the notes and I was like, I realized I wasn't so prepared for it, although I have an answer. But the Baseball Beer and BBQ, and I didn't do American and National League. I just put it for baseball. Player and Pitcher of the Month, our awards, and for us announcing these awards, the player will get whatever they normally get in life. They won't ever hear from us. So, but Player and Pitcher of the Month for Ted, we'll start with you. Just in baseball general.
Just in baseball general, homer pick of the month for player is Neil Walker. Love what he's done. Love that, there has been no transition period for him. This guy just came in and delivered. I believe we're at 8 or 9 home runs.
9. He has 9 right now.
Yeah. So 9 home runs, being just slid into that lineup and just delivering all. This first month has been great. I think he's on pace for to tie Barry Bonds
Which is funny because if he's on pace to tie Barry Bonds, that means Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story are on pace to exceed Barry Bonds.
Yes. But no, Neil Walker definitely he gets my pick. And like I said, I know it sounds like a homer, but seeing this guy,
it's valid.
And I've been telling every Pittsburgh Pirate fan that I could tell, thank you. Thank you so much for, but I mean, and for pitcher of the month, I mean, it's easy for me. I'm going to go with Arrieta for his dominance.
Yeah.
I mean, second to none.
Yep. And I agree with Arrieta. I'll go ahead and say mine's Arrieta. I mean, how could you go wrong with Arrieta, right? And my player of the month, really, I think is Trevor Story, just because Colorado's somehow hanging in there and 10 home runs in the first month of his rookie season. Is he the best player in baseball right now? Nah, probably not. I mean, Trout. Heck, Robinson Cano being a homer leads the American League in home runs and RBI, but I still got to go with Trevor Story just because of the difference that he's made on that team, and Jose Reyes may never play again. Todd, what about you?
Well, I was going to go with Ian Kinsler because he's leading the league in range factor. He's second in double plays, and he's got a 910 OPS. But none of you, surprisingly, because we're trying to be different, we're all trying not to say the guy that we know is really the best player of the month, and probably. So we'll just leave it up to that guy with the Nats who will come up later in the show. So I'll just say that. Pitcher, I'm going to actually go with Chris Sale.
What?
And you look
the
at
guy's
the stats.
only 5-0, Todd. I mean,
that's not impressive. That's not impressive.
Exactly.
You know what
with
you could have said, Todd? Hold on. You could have just said the guy who pitches in Chicago, and you would have gotten both of them.
The funny thing about the White Sox, and we haven't really touched on it, but we're talking about their crazy start. Danks actually has half of their losses. if they just got rid of Danks, they would only have 4 losses. Just get some rookie to come up. His ERA is 7.25, and he's 0-4. They've only lost 8 freaking games.
Can I flip that around and be a little bit of a homer here? Felix Hernandez has pitched twice where his team has only gotten 1 hit in each game, and the guy's 2-2 with a 1.38 ERA. They had 1 hit last night, and they won the game 1-0. Thank you, Felix.
Amazing. Arrieta really is the guy, obviously, as is the gentleman who plays in the outfield out there in Washington, and I'm not going to name him because we're going to talk about him a lot later. But there's a lot of people are really stepping up. Dee Gordon won't be one of them over the next 80 games, by the way.
That's true. So I thought about the Dodgers have now lost 5 in a row, which at this pace they're going to lose every game the rest of the season, obviously. But I thought, and anything's possible in baseball, which makes me sad. But they started off the season really well, I thought, right? I mean, they started off with leading the division, and now they're falling back. And so when they started off the season, it kind of sounded like this to me.
Yeah, girls and boys!
What a splendid idea! This Christmas sounds fun. I fully endorse it. Let's try it at once.
And then now they've lost 5 in a row, so this is what I thought.
Please, I'm only an elected official here. I can't make decisions by myself.
So that was my reaction to the Dodgers start to the season.
So your head is on a swivel. I thought so.
It is, yeah. I actually thought about that. I was jogging this morning, and I was thinking, wow, I really do feel like the mayor from Nightmare Before Christmas, because it's a lot what it's like. So anyway, but I mean, the Mets started off not great, and Ted's turned it around. So I mean, he's happy at this point. That's 7 in a row for the Mets, right?
7 in a row. Still working on. Well, they swept the last two series, and Cespedes, however you want to pronounce it, he was on fire last night.
And fuego.
Yeah, he was. Grand Slam, 7 RBI? How many RBIs did he have? Sounds crazy.
Yeah, no, he had 6 in 1 inning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because they scored the most. Was it the most runs the Mets had ever scored in 1 inning? 12 runs?
12 runs.
Yeah, that was exciting.
And I just want to jump in and say it was a half-empty stadium.
Really? That's
wow.
That's kind of sad. Funny, the Cubs are playing the Braves right now, so the Cubs probably will win more games. But the good thing for the Braves is they're playing on the road. They're 1-12 at home. They actually have a chance in Chicago.
Ooh.
Hey, Joel, if you're listening.
So,
let's move on to the NFL draft. Because obviously that was a big thing that happened in sports, and everybody pays attention to the NFL draft. And the Dolphins, I'll be interested. I know Todd was excited, and maybe still is excited. I mean, the guy can play. But what's your reaction, Todd, because they picked Tunsil in the first round as he fell after the image of him smoking a bong? Who cares about – really, it's marijuana. It's not like he's taking PEDs.
Right.
Who cares? The other option,
exactly.
The other thing that came out, though, I will say, is that there's no wonder that Alabama has actually lost twice to Ole Miss the last 2 years. They're playing against a professional team, as it turns out. So what's your take on Tunsil being drafted by the Dolphins?
I'm really excited about that because they obviously need to upgrade their offensive line. I mean, my God, Tannehill's gotten sacked more than groceries. I mean, I think 2012 he's been sacked more than anybody else, and they keep on trying to improve the offensive line. So hopefully this time it'll work. I mean, they're bringing in a guy who played left tackle, played exceptionally well. Of course, as we know now, he was a professional, so he should have played well. I don't care about that. As far as the Dolphins picking him, I do care about that in the context of college, but I don't care about Ole Miss, so they can get the death penalty for all I care. Goodbye. Who cares? But for the Dolphins, yeah, I'm really happy about it. And I was just looking over news in general, and someone put out a notice. This is kind of a throwback to when Marino plummeted down the list because of rumors about him and a substance which should not be snorted by anybody in little lines drawn on mirrors. And those rumors proved to be untrue, thankfully. And wow, that was certainly a gift for the Dolphins. And this is not going to be that level, obviously. But if you can get a guy who 2 months ago, most people were saying he was the number one pick, and then when things jumped around as all people are going to go for quarterbacks, he was still in the top 5. And to be able to pull him as late as the Dolphins drafted, I mean, that's a huge bonus. And like you said, it's like, okay, so he smoked weed. Like half of the people that he's going to be playing with. I don't care. Just keep it under control, dude. And keep your social media account under control, too, for God's sake. It's lucky that all that's come out is that he smoked weed. Yeah, and he or don't have a password as password or 1 2 3 4. But it's a good thing that the worst thing that's come out about this guy. Think about it the way pro athletes are these days, and yes, he's a pro. The worst thing that's come out is that he smoked weed and he took a few $100s here and there from his team.
Well, and the stepfather thing too.
Yeah,
hey.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in and as usual, tie in one of our shows on Late Night Parents. Like, how could you have a stepfather? And we're not saying he did it, but when they asked the stepfather, I don't know nothing about no video. I'm not watching no draft. I mean, come on. How much more ignorant can you be? This guy, whatever he did, whether he received funds from Ole Miss, whether, that video, that's a whole different story. But this is this guy, this young man's moment. And it just gets snatched away. Mm-hmm. And I think, lastly, I'm going to say, Todd, shame on the Dolphins PR staff just not grabbing, once they had him as their pick, why didn't they just say, okay, we're going to manage the PR from this point on?
Yeah. Well, that's the lovely organizations that is the Miami Dolphins since, I don't know, how many decades back shall we go? I mean, it's an extremely dysfunctional organization. Their prowess in the playoffs, which is 0, proves it. And that proved it too. I mean, they just kind of left it. Why are you allowing him to be even asked questions that he was asked?
Oh,
and basically letting this kid fend for himself. I mean, he's an adult. I mean, But still, it's like that's not how you run. That's not how you run things. That's just ignorant, and that's the Dolphins these days.
Sorry to interject for just a second, but the thing is that when he first got asked the question by like John Clayton on ESPN Radio, he answered about the Ole Miss issue. He said nothing,
right?
But then he changed his answer and said, "Yeah, basically, I took money." So maybe the Dolphins, not to defend the Dolphins. I mean, I have nothing against the Dolphins. I hope Todd's team does well. I hope Ted's team does well. But it does seem like maybe they thought, okay, this kid is going to be okay. He's going to give the right answer. And then he changed his answer. So, I mean, maybe that's not the Dolphins' fault. Maybe that's the kid's fault. You know what I'm saying?
Lee, I know what you're saying, Lee, but I just want to let you know that his password is password with a capital P.
Oh, dang it. I was putting in the lowercase p. Shoot. Thanks, Ted.
That's after he changed it. That's his new one.
Well, what'd you think about, beyond that, what'd you think about the other picks that the Dolphins had?
I don't care.
Wow.
Until they start winning,
okay.
So tired of this organization.
No, I got you. You say, I know you're joking. You say you don't care, but I got this for you. So I'll ask you guys, where do you think Richard Thomas was drafted? What round?
I'm guessing fourth.
Third.
Fourth round. Cam Chancellor, which round?
Sixth.
Fifth.
Okay.
Michael Bennett.
Sixth.
Undrafted. Didn't get drafted at all, Michael Bennett. So The thing is, Michael Bennett is a beast. He's a smart player, and I think that's one thing that goes into the whole draft process is, do they have physical? Oh, can they jump? Can they? And we talked about this, when they were doing the combine. They're doing skills that they've never had to do, that they will never need to do in playing football. Michael Bennett is a smart guy. He knows how to play, and he knows how to use his skill, which is the only drawback to Tunsil. I think he'll be a good player. I think he'll be a very good player. The drawback is he's really going up against Michael Bennett in that first game of his NFL career. That could be ugly.
Yeah.
But the other, Tunsil long term, he could be okay. So what happened in his past? Did he smoke marijuana? A lot of the players probably smoke marijuana because that's one way of dealing with pain, and you're going to be in pain in the NFL. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with marijuana. So, did he take illegal payments at Ole Miss? Who's that on? That's on Ole Miss. And I'm sure he's not the only player that did that. And the other issue
that's not the
is,
only college.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it does make you wonder how Ole Miss got good so fast. So now we know. But the other issue is, of course, is the stepfather thing, and maybe that's worse, if that was the case. But I haven't heard anything else come out about domestic violence or anything else about this kid. So maybe that, and we don't even know if that actually happened. So maybe Tunsil will be fine. We hope. The Jets, Ted, what do you think about the Jets? What the Jets have done so far?
I'm going to say this much. In the first time in many, 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 many years, the Jets have a football guy who's the GM. You got to think about it historically. From, Trader Mike Tannenbaum, your guy now, Todd, good luck.
Yeah, I know.
To Izzik, kind of, both of those guys were like capologists who were like relying on the coach to, hey, what do you think about this guy? You think he's great? All right, we're going to pick him. But Maccagnan is our guy because I love not what he's done with the draft. I love what he's done with this negotiation with Fitztragic, because it's a tragedy here where usually these Jets, or front office guys are picking with emotion, or they're reading the newspaper and saying, oh, maybe we should go after this guy. No, I mean, the Jets right now, at the start of the draft, were without three of their four linebackers that started for the team at the beginning of last season. So, that's the key piece right there. And we all know the greatness of Todd Bowles. I love how Bowles and Maccagnan are working together. Darren Lee, the first pick, linebacker, he's going, right out the gate from Ohio State. Love it. Christian Hackenberg, potentially future quarterback. I mean, potentially starting quarterback. Maybe year 2, year 3. Who knows? The Jets have a mess with picking quarterbacks. 9 in the last 11 drafts.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, I think 4 in the last 6 years they picked a quarterback. With the Jets, with McCagnon picking Hackenberg, and already having Bryce Petty, and also Geno, he's taken what little leverage Fitzpatrick had and totally let the air out of the balloon. So and don't be surprised because the PR campaign will start shortly, or the smear campaign, because there was some talk from Adam Schefter saying this guy said I can't play for the Jets at that rate, and that rate is between $7 and $8 million. Now I'm sure he's doing that based on marketability and cost of living. I don't know. I mean, I know Fitzpatrick. He's just like the rest of us. He has a family and he has to do this, but $7-8 million. Come on.
Yeah, for a starting quarterback, that's ridiculous.
And he had one good season, and he's been with 5 different teams.
Yeah,
So
but
I like the
else
fact.
Backups make $7-8 million in the NFL now. I mean,
Right. Well, I think they're playing a game of chicken because he's asking, or it was reported he's asking 16. They're offering 7-8. I mean, and I guess the Jets don't want to be like the Philadelphia Eagles. So, and then to round it out, yesterday with Jordan Jenkins, once again, another linebacker to shore it up. Looking to see what they're going to do today to round it out. Very happy with this draft. Happy with McCagnon. Happy with where the team is moving as a whole. But they do have to address Fitzpatrick. You do need him back. Maybe back at $12, $13 million. I don't know. I'm not a football guy, but you got to up that ante.
Right. And the thing is, with the NFL, that's not guaranteed money anyway. So I mean, you could say $12 million if you meet this criteria. So I mean, that's it's different from every other sport, really.
Correct.
It's funny you mentioned the coach and GM relationship because being a homer, but I think the Seahawks have it really good with Pete Carroll and John Schneider because when they got hired in, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but when they got hired at the same time.
Yes.
Schneider doesn't necessarily oversee Carroll, and Carroll doesn't oversee Schneider, obviously. They work together, and Schneider's in charge of player personnel and draft, and Pete Carroll's in charge of the football team, which is really how it should be. And so when they have, it doesn't seem like they've had many differences of opinion, but if they have a difference, they work it out with the owner, Paul Allen. And that's really a great relationship because Pete Carroll isn't thinking, well, I wonder what Schneider's going to do. He doesn't answer to Schneider as far as football because Schneider's not a football coach. Carroll's a football coach, but Schneider knows what he's doing as far as player personnel. So, when they lose one of those guys, I'll be sad. That'll be a very sad day. I do want to say when the Seahawks made their first pick to Ifedi, the Jermaine Ifedi from Texas A&M lineman, they've chosen 2 linemen so far. They've got a running back, a tight end. I think they've drafted to need, and I think they've done a good job with that. But one thing we miss a lot of times is we see the reaction on TV of the player, and then NFL Network or whoever, ESPN is interviewing this guy, and then we see we get the after draft comments from the coach and GM. This was actually the call that John Schneider placed to Ifedi just before the Seahawks drafted them.
Hello?
Hey, is this Jermaine?
Yes.
Jermaine, hey, this is John Schneider of the Seattle Seahawks.
How you doing?
You doing all right, man?
I'm doing great.
We were thinking about selecting you right here. Would that be all right?
That'd be amazing.
Okay, man. Congratulations. You're a Seattle Seahawk, brother. All right. All right, brother.
And to me, that's one of the best things about the draft is because you see a young man get drafted and you hear the conversation about when he's going to be drafted. To me, that's a great human moment. The guy is extremely happy he got drafted.
Hey, I just want to jump in and say, phenomenal organization, and they work together because, like you said, they don't oversee each other. They're both executive vice presidents, Lee. They're both executive vice presidents, so I guess, you got to work hand in hand. But, I mean, coach, GM combo, I mean, outside of, I can't, I'm going to say they're number one because Belichick is one and the same.
Yeah, he is, really. Yeah, I agree with that, too.
And it always works. Look at Philadelphia and Chip Kelly. It always works. You have the wrong model, Lee. You have absolutely the wrong model. You just need to hire some bozo who cheats his way to a good record in college, no championships, and then bring him in the NFL and give him the reins because it works every time.
It did. And now he's learned his lesson. That's one thing that has amused me. Oh, he learned his lesson. Oh, he got fired, and then he immediately got hired by another team as a head coach. What lesson is that? That's not
less than 5 days later.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, supposedly he doesn't have the personnel decision with the 49ers, but that team, man, Chip Kelly could be the greatest coach in the world, but they lost so much. The Cardinals and the Seahawks are just going to bury them. The Cardinals are a much better organization at this point than the 49ers. The Seahawks obviously are. Hell, maybe even the Rams are at this point because they've made some, decent moves. I'll say this overall. Yeah. I think the Titans had a really good draft. I mean, they traded down, but they still got some really good pieces. I think Derrick Henry in the second round because he's not going to have to come in and start. They got DeMarco Murray, and they can, he had 4,000 carries with Alabama last year. He's not going to have that many carries with the Titans. I think the Titans are really improved. He's going to, if he carries the ball 200 times with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, that's a pretty good combination. Plus, they drafted a line.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, no, go Todd.
I was just saying, I'm glad you mentioned Derrick Henry because the Dolphins wisely took the other running back because they love to collect people who have been injured. So here we are with another brilliant Dolphins pick, which is why I said I don't really care what they pick because I just want to see some production. And like you said, Arian Foster wasn't drafted. I mean, so the draft is obviously important, but you don't have to be. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. It just matters that you get on the team, and it matters that they choose good people. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Kenyon Drake on the IR sometime in September, so that'll be great.
I will say I think he has potential and he's versatile, and maybe that's what the Dolphins are looking for. I mean, I know I would be the same way if the Seahawks had drafted him maybe. Although I think the Seahawks, the running back they got, is pretty versatile too. And but I think what the Dolphins are trying to go for is versatility because they want to change it more into a more of a passing attack than I hope. Anyway, I know you've mentioned this before, but the running backs they got are like not so sure. But I mean, at least he can catch the ball.
Well, realistically, he won't see the field anyway because, they had Thomas, and they decided they didn't need a 25-year-old guy who's one of the best running backs because they didn't use him, so you might as well let him go. So, he'll probably see the field 15 times this season. And solid, not because he's injured, just because they don't understand that you actually have to use running backs.
Well, they are an undervalued. It's an undervalued position in the NFL right now. I mean, honestly, they do take it. They're taking it to the extreme, but think about how many running backs get drafted. Ezekiel Elliott, that shocked the hell out of me. To be honest, he drafted so high. So
well, what they're saying, he's like a once in a generation type player, and we'll see if that pans out in the NFL because we've all seen where it doesn't pan out. But it does seem to work. Usually works pretty well with running backs. It does seem to pan out, but then again. There's that guy who. How many teams has he been on? The former standout for Alabama who turned into absolutely nothing. He's been on 3 teams now? It happens too. So
Richardson,
we'll see.
You talking about?
You're talking about Mark Ingram?
Yeah, Ingram. Couldn't think of his name. So, he's been okay, but he hasn't been a stud. Obviously, he's not the guy that people thought he was. So, but. sure as heck happens. Here's the big question to me. Of the two quarterbacks taken, who's actually going to be worth anything, and who is going to be out of the league in 2 years after he's a backup? Because you know one of them is going to suck, because they always do, or almost always do, seems like.
Actually, I think the Rams made a wise. If I can say it, I think the Rams made a wise pick. The reason they did it is because their quarterback doesn't have to come in and carry the team. They've got a running game, so they only have to throw it 25 times a game. So I think their quarterback has a much better opportunity than the other guys. At least you're not the Browns who keep trading down, and eventually, I think the Browns are thinking if we trade down long enough, we won't have any picks at all.
I think the Browns are picking like 85 times between rounds 4 and 7 today.
They'll turn over the team twice.
Hey, I just want to make an honorable mention to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're doing something special down there. I'm just thinking that balance of power with Pittsburgh and New England, could it be coming to an end in the next, 2 to 3 to 5 to, 25 years from now? But I kind of like what they're doing. They're spending money. They're in play.
Yeah, I don't think
Pittsburgh in the next 4 games, right?
Well, I don't think Pittsburgh's going anywhere. They got a ton of young talent, actually, and I think they'll exceed what the Patriots will be doing in 5 years. But I agree. I think the Jaguars, because I know Gus Bradley. Obviously, he was a DC for the Seahawks and a really good one, and he put the Seahawks defense in Jacksonville, and he's drafted. Are they good right now? No. But in 2 or 3 years, I think they'll be better because he's drafted to fit the system, and I think those players are good. I think that's an excellent point, Ted. So, should we? I know Ted mentioned this. We should do our dummy of the week. I think that's a fabulous idea. So, are we prepared to do that right now? Do we want to do that right now?
Are you ready for this, Todd?
I'm ready for it.
Okay, well, hold on. Before we start, here we go.
You big dummy.
Okay, so here we go. So who wants to go first? I'll go first. I think the big dummy of the week to me is Ted Cruz, because he decided when he's losing and has no chance at the Republican nomination that he would choose a person who also ran and didn't have any of the votes. So it's like if Ted Cruz thought Carly would actually pull some of their votes together and that would build momentum, he still might get maybe a third of the way to where Trump is. I loved I wish I had a snippet of it, but I loved when he gave because he likes to talk like he's a Southern Baptist preacher.
Yes.
And so when he says, what I've decided to do is run on a ticket. That's what he says. On a ticket? Yeah, really, dude? You really want to run on a ticket? That's what it's called. Yep. And then he's like, and then he mixes up her name. I'm like, wow. Okay, dummy of the week, Ted Cruz. Because why pick a vice presidential candidate when you're nowhere near gonna get the nomination for your own party? That's Aaron Rodgers throwing a Hail Mary pass that isn't complete, because it's a Hail Mary and there's no chance that that's gonna work out. Oh, well, I got the doorbell sound.
Doorbell.
I'm out of time.
Doorbell. That's the Aaron Rodgers. That's the Aaron Rodgers incomplete Hail Mary after the game. That's in the parking lot. I don't know if
he does get to go home to
week,
Olivia Nunn.
Or is that's true. Or is Carly the dummy of the week for accepting it? What is she doing? Does she just want more airtime for the little snippet she'll get?
Did you say bear time?
My dummy
Ted Cruz
is
a total bear. So.
Yeah, he is a total bear. His children love him so much too. You can tell in all those photos. It's awesome.
You know what? Actually, I'll say this. I'll just interrupt. Ted Cruz chose the only person who ever maybe kind of liked him as a human being. Maybe that's why he chose Carly.
Yes.
That's why. But it is a great. You're right. It is a great choice because she had. She's one of the few people that probably is close to him on the dislikability index. So, because he couldn't pick Trump as his running mate, obviously, so he got the next best thing. Yeah, it's pathetic. My dummy of the week, though, is Mr. Dee Gordon, which we talked about, and for the reasons we already talked about. So, Ted, on to you.
All right. And guys, thank you for incorporating this segment. I want to give a big shout out to our good friends at Barbershop Sports because we did the Dummy of the Week every week for the almost 2 years I was there. So my Dummy of the Week is not per se a person, it's an entity. It's the 4-letter network. And I got to give it to the 4-letter network. Why? Because you keep letting talent walk out the door because you don't want to pay them. And I'm going to say this week, like him or not, Skip Bayless is the little engine that could for that First Take show. That's their moneymaker that generates a heck of a lot of viewers for them. I think it's their highest rated show on ESPN2. You let the guy walk out the door to go, it's preceded that it's going to be Fox. But even bigger than that was this week, Mike Tirico. How do you let a guy who's, basically the face and voice for, NBA basketball, tennis, golf, and the crown jewel, your Monday Night Football, your play-by-play guy, walk out the door? He's going to do great things, and and when we talk talent, Tirico is to the roof. He's your guy, but I'm going to give it to ESPN, Dummies of the Week. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
No, you said it perfectly to me.
My thoughts on Bayless are, I understand the ratings, but he's got to be a pain in the ass to work with, and I think that's what it's behind, because he's such an arrogant bastard, and he is. I'm pretty sure he actually probably is legitimately a bastard. Hopefully he's listening and he sues me. But Tirico, I'm 100% with you on Tirico, and I understand what you're saying about Bayless, because it is all about ratings. After all, that's the business. That Tirico, that's insane. You do not let that guy walk. Like you said, Bayless is the face of angry old white guy who rants. That's all he is. He gets ratings, whatever. But Tirico is like, my God, if the network has a face like they did back in the old days when they had the big show, he's the face of ESPN, and now he's gone. It's like, wow, that's a huge impact. You can hire, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking. They can find some other dipstick to fill in Bayless's spot without any problem paying half as much money. And Stephen A. will just bounce off him like he does off Bayless, and the show will still be entertaining. But that's going to be tough to replace Tirico. Really tough.
Yeah, and I agree with the Bayless. Bayless to me is, I don't know him personally, so I really don't know what he's like. But I feel like they probably said, hey, Skip, hey, Stephen A., you guys need to be full of bluster. You need to be the Donald Trump of sports radio on TV. Because that's all. I don't watch that show. And I get tired of hearing people yell at each other all the time and just talk. It's like crap. It's like, let's say the most outlandish thing we can say, and we'll get ratings, which sadly is true. But, yeah, I'd skip Bayless. I don't care. But that's our big dummy of the week. So,
You big dummy.
One dummy we didn't talk about was Tom Brady, right? The 4-game suspension has been upheld by Todd and I were talking a little bit about this. I can't remember if it was before the show or when you had to fall off for a second, Ted. But we were saying how we thought it was all over anyway, and this kind of came out of the blue just before the draft, and it was like, what? The 4-game suspension's up? Oh, that was timely. And to me, if he misses the first 4 games, I thought it was interesting that the Patriots chose a quarterback in the 3rd round. But to me, if he misses those first 4 games, none of those games are easy. Are they the greatest teams in the world, all of them? No, but there's no easy games in that first. They could legitimately be 0-4, even because they gave up Chandler Jones, who was a good player, and we don't know how their backup quarterback's going to be, Janine Garofalo, and so it's one of those things where they could be 0-4, and then you're looking at the season. Well, if you get off to, even if they're 2-2 or 1-3, that's not an easy division. The Jets are good. The Bills could be decent. The Dolphins could be decent. It's not an easy division to come back in, I don't think. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's and as far as it's started already. You know, the rending of the breast up in New England is like, oh, this is unfair. It's like he never admitted to anything. It's like there's such a thing as circumstantial evidence. You don't need a confession, okay, to prove that something happened, idiots. And it goes back to the whole thing of, you're going to tell me a guy who's had a football in his hands probably since he was 4 years old can't tell that something is off about the inflation?
For a second. So they ran a test on the inflation. Are you saying that he didn't admit to it? Are you saying he's kind of like the football equivalent to Dee Gordon?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. And that's ridiculous to assume that he didn't know about it. It's like, come on. It's like, that's just absolutely stupid. And then they say, oh, how can you punish him for that? It's like, because it's cheating. That's fine, idiots. It's against the rules. My God, how can't you get that through your stupid head? He's lucky he only got 4 games. I mean, people are just like, oh, that's ridiculous. It should be reduced. It's like, no, I thought it should have been a season. Because how many years has he been doing this? Like, come on. That's just ridiculous.
Just 3 years.
The sad thing is, just 3 years. And he doesn't need to. This is, to me, and it's not the equivalent of Barry Bonds, but it's similar. Because you got a guy who doesn't need to cheat, who cheated. What the hell is wrong with you? You don't have enough of an edge because you're one of the best quarterbacks ever? I mean, legitimately he is. That's just moronic. But take the 4-game suspension. They're not going to go 0-4 because the Dolphins are going to lose to them. I mean, the Dolphins could show up and no one could be on the field up there in New England, and they would still manage to lose because that's what they do. Idiots. But let's say they go 2-2. And it is a tough division, but Brady will be back, and he'll be playing with a chip on his shoulder. You think he played with a chip on his shoulder last season? What do you think he's going to be like this season? They'll still win the division.
Hey,
he played with a chip on his shoulder, and he got beaten up by Denver. I mean, I get the chip on the shoulder thing, and I know where you're coming from, but I hear other people say that, and I'm like, yeah, so what? Everybody plays with a chip on their shoulder. It's the NFL. They're NFL quarterbacks.
Well, we're talking about the season guys compared to, if he runs into the Denver defense again, it's going to be the same story.
That's my point. Is that he could play with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to run into a better team, and they're going to get beaten. It doesn't matter if he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. And I'm not blaming you. I just hear that comment a lot. Well, he's playing. He's going to be so motivated. They're all fucking motivated. They're NFL football players.
But the difference is he's starting off at a much higher talent level than the other guys.
Yeah, but it's still the team. He was the most talented player on the field against Denver. Denver's defense kicked their ass. And that's what it comes down to. He could have been, I'm so motivated to overcome this, I'm going to make the Super. No, you're not. Your team is not good enough to beat Denver.
Oh. They're not going to.
Guys, I have a spin on this.
Please do.
Is, I agree with the 4-game suspension. Leave it at the 4 games. But I want the last 4 games of the season.
Right.
Games 12 through 16. Baltimore, Denver, New York, and Miami. Those
they
matter.
play Seattle too. You could have had it in the middle. See, to me, the worst. I know I'm interrupting, but to me, it's worse to have it right in the middle of the season because then it throws everything off. I mean, not because of Seattle, but no matter who they're playing. Okay, the guy's playing. Okay, now we got to play 4 games in the middle. Now we got to regain that momentum if they lose. Maybe they'll go 4-0 for all I know. But I've thought about that too, Ted. That's an excellent point. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm just to piggyback off of what both of you are saying. Hit him where it really hurts. Stop the momentum. Stop it, and that's why I say games 12 through 16. And at that point, he's got to get back into the groove, and they've got to really haul, games 1 through 11. And, we all know towards the end of the season, you want to get that momentum. You want to go into the playoffs strong. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know. But that was my take on it. Make it the last 4 games of the season. Still, I mean, they're still not getting back the draft picks, correct?
Yeah, well, they only got they had to give up their first round draft, but that was separate. The organizational thing was different from the Brady thing.
Oh, okay, all right. That's my take on it.
And my take would be it happened in the playoffs, so they should say, Brady, we're going to sit you out the first 4 games of the playoffs next year. Good luck.
That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
That would be great, yes. No offense to Patriots fans, but you guys are arrogant assholes where you didn't have a winner for a long time. Sorry. Anyway, we are now going to, sorry, Dave Nichols, but we are now going
they love Steve Rogan. What are you talking about?
Well, I will say